30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Do we want to try that one again?
I got you, George.
Oh, there we are. Yeah, wires crossed a little bit.
And you're learning stuff here.
Yeah, I am. So hello again, everybody. Welcome to Wires Crossed on a Friday afternoon. We got a good show for you. Herm Edwards will join us today at 3:15. But before that, Mark Griffin, who does a terrific job with his coverage of college basketball, former University of Tennessee star, will join us. That will happen in about 15 minutes. A lot of things going on. I want to thank the folks again at the Franklin Marriott for allowing us to do our show out there yesterday around the National Football Foundation awards dinner, which was spectacular. This is, I don't know, 19 or 20 years that I've been allowed to MC it. It's always a privilege. It was great to see Dr. Kevin Dyson. I'm still not used to that. But Kevin Dyson was part of what I believe is the best locker room in pro football history. There were more good guys on that first group of Titans when they came to town. Maybe they were starved for attention coming out of Houston, but for us, media-wise, man, it couldn't have been better. And Kevin Dyson was part of that.
Yeah, George, that's pretty cool to, to still reminisce on those stories and have Dice. I'm sure it was fun catching up with him last night. I was there. Of course, we were there for the show. Walking out, I ran into Coach Stockstill, and of course, Clark Lee was there. A lot of high school football coaches, of course, going there with their players, and so it's just a good football night, even though football season's over.
When I got a chance to see Rick, he was very high on one of our interns, Lewis Maddox, and liked how he prepared for his interviews. Lewis, I think I'm right, is now at the University of Tennessee.
Oh, he made the move to Knoxville.
He made the move to Orange.
Okay. I can't say I didn't see that coming.
Well, yeah. I mean, that one.
It was probably
see, it was in the cards.
It was probably the Alabama game.
It might have been. It might have been. We don't even know if he ever came home.
No, he probably just made himself at home up there in Knoxville.
Good for him. So we got some stuff. Let's start with story number 3.
Yeah, we'll start there, George. Kermit Davis, unfortunately, has been let go by Ole Miss. He was nearing the end of his 5th year in Oxford. And, George, people forget he took Ole Miss to an NCAA tournament in his first season, but they haven't been back since. And, you've seen sort of a downward trajectory there. But Win Case will be the interim head coach for Ole Miss. So, George, everybody loves Kermit. He did a lot of really good things at MTSU. It's just unfortunate that it happened this way.
I've had a sick feeling for a while that was going to happen. I made a point when Kermit came in here to play Vandy after probably 99% of the gym had, gotten out of there. I waited to see him, and I just wanted him to know I was thinking about him. Kermit Davis is a really good man, number one. Number two, he's still got a sense of humor. I said to him, what do you want me to say to Kevin Stallings? Because they're pretty good friends. He goes, ask Kevin how he would have handled NIL.
He would want no part of that.
And I have not told Kevin that, but I will. I don't know what Kermit wants to do or what he doesn't want to do. If he wants to get back into coaching, I'm really hopeful he gets that opportunity somewhere.
Oh, I'm sure he will. It'll be interesting, George, to see whether he goes mid-major or does he try to become an assistant somewhere at a higher level. But obviously, Kermit Davis has done a lot for college basketball, and that turns the table to where does Ole Miss go now? Some options out there, according to Jeff Goodman on Twitter. Chris Beard.
I'm not
from
buying
Texas.
that one.
Me neither.
This is too early. The second one is where I think this is going.
Dusty May
at FAU.
Yeah, obviously Beard, he'll have some clearing to do, even though his case was dropped. But interesting nugget here, Coach May coached with Mike White, who played with Ole Miss AD Keith Carter at Ole Miss. So, there's some connections there with Dusty May and Ole Miss already.
There's a play-by-play tape downstairs of an Ole Miss Vandy game that I did where Keith Carter and Michael White absolutely torched us. Carter was a great shooter. I don't know at that point that he ever would have said, I'm going to be an athletic director at Ole Miss. I get it. It's a production business. And when you go 2-13 in the league, it's not going to be easy. But I'm also not going to sit here and lie and tell you that I don't feel for Kermit Davis. I do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's hard not to.
He's a good man.
Another option, George, for Ole Miss, according to Jeff Goodman, former LSU coach Will Wade.
Yeah, and I don't know. To be honest, it's funny because his name came up in a conversation a day or two ago, and I really don't know where Will is. Will's mom and dad are here. I know them a little bit. It's unfortunate the way that all that ended at LSU. He's a good basketball coach. He knows how to coach.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of times, George, I feel like after that, something like that happens to a coach, they sort of, I don't know about hiding, but they sort of take a year or two off and, reset, hit the reset button. I don't know if Chris Beard.
Let the dust settle.
I don't know if Chris Beard's going to be that way, but we'll see. Beard and Wade are both two really good coaches that you got to feel like will be back in the game.
Yeah, I just don't think it'll be now with
it feels like Dusty May
with Chris Beard. I don't see it.
Feels like May's a no-brainer right now for Keith Carter at this point.
He's done a really good job at FAU. Right now, they're projected, I want to say, like a 9 or a 10 seed in the tournament.
They're going to be in. They're almost a lock right now, unless barring a disaster, I guess, down the stretch. So we'll see what happens at Ole Miss, and of course, we'll keep Coach Davis and his family in our thoughts here as they try to regroup. George, the Nashville Predators won last night over San Jose 6-2, 3 points apiece from Mikael Granlund and Matt Duchene. They completed the season sweep of the Sharks after opening the season with back-to-back wins over San Jose and Prague. Preds are now 28-22-6 on the season. They will head out to Arizona on Sunday to face the Coyotes for a rematch of a game that we saw the Preds lose.
Yes.
So that's a game you need to win.
A lot of us have got mixed emotions because on one hand, you'd love to see them make a real playoff run. Do I honestly think that's coming? No. I personally think it's time to, clear the decks a little bit. And, Matt Duchene is one. In all the years that I've been a season ticket holder from day one, I don't think I have ever seen a player booed the way Matt Duchene was near the end of the Arizona game. Fans question effort. I think they have every right to. When he plays hard, he can really help this team. The problem is, I don't think he plays hard every night. And as a coach, I would pack his bags and ship him out.
Yeah, it's the level of investment too, George. Is it really there right now for some guys?
Well, I think for most of them it is. I'm not convinced on Duchene because I've seen stuff that, I don't question effort very often, but I'll be honest, I question some effort here.
And it's a night like last night where you go, why don't we see that more from Duchene? I mean, 2 assists I think he had last night and, very active offensively, but then you see another game like last week against Arizona, where he's got a turnover every time, you're looking, you're turning around.
When he's right, he's probably as good a passer as they have.
And they need him. They need him to have more 2-assist games like that.
I just don't know how I feel. On one hand, give me a 3-game winning streak and I'll get excited. On the other, I don't know. I'm just not convinced that this squad is a playoff squad.
I think there's some more season ticket holders that would agree with you on that.
I'd like to be wrong.
Oh, I think we all would. George, Arizona, that's who they'll play on Sunday. Vanderbilt baseball, meanwhile, they're in action this weekend against number 17 UCLA. Game 1 is actually here in a couple hours, 4:30 first pitch. Game 2 tomorrow at 1 o'clock, and Game 3 is Sunday at noon. George, you remember Charles DeFrance?
Well, yeah, we were in a Spanish class together.
Well,
and I can tell you his grades were better than mine.
Well, it's
Charles DeFrance. Man, I hadn't thought of that name in years.
His stolen base record is about to be broken this weekend because Enrique Bradfield needs 1 stolen base to break DeFrance's record. So we got something to keep track of this weekend.
Spanish. No hablo español.
Last piece here, George. Josiah Jordan-James made some comments at this was at a tip-off luncheon club, I think, in Knoxville, in the Knoxville area. It was an NIL event for Josiah. Of course, he's missed the last 4 games after suffering a sprained ankle in the Vanderbilt loss a couple of weeks ago. He said on Wednesday that barring any setbacks, he wants to return, and he's hoping to return against South Carolina tomorrow. There's also a chance Julian Phillips comes back tomorrow. But, George, I thought it was interesting. Josiah Jordan-James said to the boosters and alums and fans at this event, he said, we've underperformed heavily in our eyes. We're at a crossroads right now. Honk, if you've heard that before in the state of Tennessee.
We'll end up talking with Mark about it. I do think he's right. I think they're at a crossroads. And the question is, are they going to be great? We have seen bits and pieces of great, like national title contender. We've also seen bits and pieces a lot more in the last month
of a 5 or 6
seed. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, George, he said our backs are against the wall, and they are right now. I mean, you saw what South Carolina did against Alabama.
I'm not buying it.
You're not buying it?
No, absolutely not.
The game, I think Tennessee's a 22-point favorite.
Are they really?
Yeah, I saw that earlier today.
Okay.
But that's it for the update, George. No, we'll get into more Tennessee with Mark Griffin, and then we got a lot of good basketball games tomorrow that we'll dive into, maybe as a replacement for bets of the weekend, because some of those lines.
Oh, no, we'll have some late.
Okay.
We'll have late activity.
Okay.
If you think I'm just going to say, well, no bets this week.
That's unacceptable.
We don't know it completely.
That's not
going to. We don't operate that way.
That's not going to fly.
We're more likely we'll have 4 than we'll have 0. So look at Mark Griffin. Okay. We can see him. I don't know if he can see us or not. I think he's in an airport.
Yeah, he's looking good though.
So when he starts talking, what do you think those passengers are thinking? They're sitting there going, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
Or, he's a busy man. He knows his college basketball, and I want to tune into this show.
He's 6'8". He must have played somewhere. 6'9", whatever. They're bound to be looking, going, what's he doing?
Where'd he play?
Why is he talking to himself? He's laughing right now. Okay. Mark's going to join us after the break from an airport near you. This is always a good time. Enjoy your Friday. Stay with us.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. We are excited to announce that the Music City Saints baseball program will host a spring golf scramble for their Baseball with Buds scholarship program. This program is in memory of a program supporter who passed away last summer. The scholarship program ensures every kid with the ability and drive for the game of baseball gets caught up due to the cost of competitive summer baseball. Tee-off is at 8 a.m. on Saturday, March the 18th at Ted Rhodes Golf Course in Nashville. The scramble will include 18 holes of golf with a cart provided and unlimited food and drink. Registration for each 4-person team is $400. That includes drinks during the event. They will also be providing lunch for each team. They're limited to 25 teams, so sign up soon. If you can't field a full team, individual registration works also. Finally, if you're unable to take part in the golf scramble on Saturday, March the 18th, but you'd like to support the Music City Saints, you can help their program with a one-time donation. If you have or know of any businesses that would like to become sponsors of Music City Saints baseball, feel free to contact Shan with any questions or to register. The phone number is area code 270-300-4155, or you can go to musiccitybaseball24@gmail.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
So let me say up front that Mark Griffin, very conscientious, will deserve better than what he's about to hear in just a moment. We think he's at an airport, not necessarily near you. Let's bring him up and find out. Mark, where are you?
Newark, New Jersey. I hope you can hear me okay.
Oh, we can hear you fine. You're coming in good. Are people looking at you going, what the hell? You're talking to yourself.
Yeah, I'm actually sitting down on the floor out of the way for most people so that I could be on the show, George, but it's packed here. And yes, people are watching, but it's a great place. As you know, airports are a great place to watch people.
So when you get on the flight to get back here, will you be sitting in what I would call the rich Corinthian seat area?
You know, I lost status with Delta, and now I get regular seats. And when you're 6'9", that's not comfortable unless you can sit in the exit seat. So I go up there and smile and try to get in an exit seat, but I hadn't been too fortunate, George. So it's going to be a long evening. But that's okay. We got basketball to talk about. What could be better?
Okay, I'm going to toss the hand grenade right off the bat. We have spent a lot of time this week talking about the Alabama situation. You've been in coaching. What would you be doing?
Wow. George, it's interesting. I think that I would probably take a more conservative approach and not play Brandon Miller at this time until all the facts came in. Of course, as you know, there's only so much we know. And they're going to go by their legal counsel, Alabama is, as far as what to do. I don't know how much involvement Coach Nate Oates has in the decision-making process when they are determining the next steps for Brandon and what's to occur. It's a major dark cloud over the program, and I just feel I would sit them until I had all the information. Now maybe Nate Oates has all the information. We don't know that, but until you get complete information, and it doesn't sound like they have complete information, or they said this would have been final. I just don't think you can play him.
Mark, you and I both know they're going to get hounded everywhere they go from here on in, whether it's the SEC tournament here in Nashville or the NCAA tournament where they're likely, first round stuff is going to be in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Can a team sustain on the college level? And that's the key, because I think the pros are better equipped to shut this stuff out, i.e. Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
Can a college team shut this stuff out for 6-8 weeks if they have to?
I think they can. I think that, you saw against South Carolina, for those who watched the game, Brandon, the fans are giving him a hard time during the game, making, various comments to him. He lights him up for 41. So I was a little surprised that he played so well during this time period. It shows how focused this young man is on the game of basketball, which is something he can control right now. He can't control what's going on outside of the basketball court until all this is settled. But what he can and what the team can settle is what you're doing when you step on the court. And that's being prepared for your opponent, being prepared for any obstacles that come up outside of X's and O's. So from that standpoint, I give Brandon Miller a lot of credit that he could be so focused and play so well. We'll just have to see how this plays out.
Mark, the part though that got my attention, Miller was unbelievable. How in the world, given all that he was dealing with, that he lit up 41, but the rest of the team looked like they had a dark cloud hanging over them.
True. But when you got to look at the situation of giving the ball to the hot man, and with Brandon being as hot as he was, they fed him the ball. So if that's the case, if the other players aren't playing as well and he's playing extraordinary, then give Coach Oates credit. He's feeding him the ball, and Brandon obviously wanted the ball. He's putting up a lot of shots. And it's interesting because if you look at that game, George, you're talking the number one team in the SEC against the worst team in the SEC, and it went into overtime. So it just shows every team has to be prepared for every game, home or away. You just don't know what can happen.
Mark, let's take a look at where you think the SEC is right now, 1 through 14. I don't think there are a ton of surprises to it, but A&M has, risen to almost the top of the class. I don't know about you. I'm shocked that they just keep on winning. Billy, what are they, like 13 or 14-2?
Yeah, I think 14 now, 14-2, I think.
Mark,
nobody
looks at them. 13-2. Yeah, nobody looks at them and says there's a 14-2.
Oh, you're right. And what's really interesting behind the scenes is, Coach Buzz Williams has got this team really fired up from what didn't happen last season. As you recall, it was noted that this was probably the first team out of the NCAA tournament as far as the brackets. And that just fired up Coach Buzz Williams. and the remaining returning players to say, hey, we're going to turn around this season and we're going to show the NCAA and the nation how well we could play. And they are a very surprising team that no one is talking about. And I don't know why. I think the reason it is you've got Wade Taylor, who's their star player, and then you got a bunch of role players. But that's such a great thing when you look at the total team concept, because their big guys aren't big. I mean, Marble 6'9", Williams is Henry Coleman 6'8", Anderson Garcia 6'8". So it's not like they're towering on the inside, but man, they play aggressive and they play together.
Would you ever elevate them to, hey, that they're an Elite Eight team? Because nobody has given them anything. You never hear them talked about. We all act shocked at their record. If it were anybody else, we would have long since said, man, they are kick butt. But you don't hear that about A&M.
No, it's not the glitzy team. It's not the rah-rah coach. I mean, these guys are blue-collared players. If this was Auburn or, other programs, think if this was Auburn with this record and how much we'd hear about them being an Elite Eight contender. And I pick on Auburn because that's the team that I just can't figure out, George. They behoove me every game to know which team is going to show up. But you're right; they're just an under the radar type team, blue collar, playing for each other, and I hope they do well. I really do. I'd like to see Coach Williams put together a great postseason run because he's shown that he's a heck of a coach.
I wonder, Mark, as I think about it. A&M's a football school, period. Does some school come in that needs a coach and lure Buzz Williams out of there?
Well, he's got excuse me, it's really loud in here.
Yeah, I know.
He's got a history of remaining at programs around 4 or 5 years. If you look at his background, and he's around that time period now at A&M. I think an athletic director should be contacting him when open jobs occur because he does such a great job of turning these programs around. And you're right, it is a basketball school, but as we've seen, George, you can be successful you can be successful at football schools. And I do think he's going to get a lot of calls in the postseason.
I know it's loud in there, and I really appreciate what you're trying to do for us. By the way, let them know that you want to be in first class. Let them know, you're on the Plaster Show. That will either get you first class or into the baggage department with the dogs. I think he got that. Did you hear that?
I did get it. I can hear it, and you're right. Believe me, I'm going to use anything I can that will get me an exit seat. But this is fun. It's good to take a break, talk basketball. Being away from the South this week is a little different because, we get into a routine, those who follow the Southeastern Conference, of watching the SEC network. You get into the Northeast, you don't see the SEC network.
No, you don't.
You get ESPN, and you hope that there's, a game or two on there. But I'm really excited for this weekend and knowing that, it's coming to the point where people are really gearing up for the SEC tournament in Nashville. And once again, not to just jump on Texas A&M too much, but knowing that this late in the season never would have fallen them to be the number 2 seed in the SEC right now, and they have an outside a chance, George, to still win the SEC regular season championship because they are 13-2. Alabama's 14-1. So there's a few games here they still have a shot.
Okay, let's go to your guys. Speaking of teams I can't figure out, is it more injury related or more they struggle in the half court and this is just who they are?
Well, I think the easy answer is to say it's the injury side. But George, I'm not buying into that. Now, I obviously the Tennessee squad misses the leadership of Josiah James and the athleticism of Julian Phillips. But that's why you have 14 players on your team. You have depth. You have the next man up mentality. I think it's more of a season-long drought in the offensive effectiveness of putting the ball in the basket consistently and not having enough people step up when you have guys that aren't faring as well, because the shooting has been dismal. As we mentioned last week, there's no player on Tennessee that's averaging over 40% from the field as a guard, and we're talking 5 guards, and you just don't see that for teams that are ranked as high as Tennessee is. You just don't see that, George. And I thought they would correct it. Have they? No, they haven't. Can they still? Yes, but you know, it's now the barometer's kind of going back and forth. Like, oh gosh, they could be out of the first round of the SEC tournament. They could be out of the first round of the NCAA tournament. And in the beginning of the season, we didn't feel that way. So it is the pendulum swinging now to go a little bit more doubt than what we've had in the beginning of the season.
Hey, I don't know if I'm reading something into what you said or not, so I'm just going to ask it. Do you think there's a button to push that Rick Barnes has not pushed?
What I think what I will say is, you know, Coach Barnes has had a fantastic career in coaching, obviously, you know, Hall of Fame coach. What I'm saying, I think he's pushing buttons. I just don't think people, or he's pushing buttons. I just don't think he's getting what he's wanting from the people where he's pushing the buttons. And what I mean by that is, where's the leadership? You know, if you look at this Tennessee program, who's the leader? Well, I would personally say it's Josiah James. Now, when he's not playing, it's hard to be a leader. So, you know, you could say, well, that has affected Tennessee's play. But someone else has got to be a leader and step it up. And Coach Barnes, with all his coaching finesse and experience, can't make guys be leaders. And I just think that someone's got to step it up. And you don't coach effort. That's one of the first things you talk about when you're working with kids is, look, we shouldn't have to coach effort. Someone's going to have to step it up and maybe dive on a loose ball that they've not dived on before, get a 50-50 ball that they've not gotten before. But, George, it's the little things that really add up. You look at some of Tennessee's losses, and people are going to look at the last-second shots. Well, that's a byproduct of the other 39 minutes and 58 seconds of maybe not taking advantage of opportunities. So the bottom line, George, is you've got to take advantage of every opportunity you can for the game to swing in your direction. And Tennessee's not done that.
Okay, let me try it this way. In the middle of the SEC campaign, all of a sudden you had that weekend where you had Big 12 versus SEC, and Tennessee trashed a really good Texas team. Took them behind the woodshed and said, "We are your daddy." Is it possible that part of this is that when they get to the NCAA tournament, whatever seeding they have, that those teams don't know every last detail that the SEC teams do?
Oh, there's no question, George, that, excuse me for my computer moving up and down. There's no detail. I mean, no debate that the teams you're going to play in the tournament don't have the detail that the SEC teams have throughout the SEC play that's going on now. And could that be an advantage? Sure, but on the flip side, Tennessee doesn't know, and for that matter, the matchups, you have limited information on your opponent. So what you do the best you can as far as your scout, but you take care of business, and taking care of business is taking care of number one, and that's your team and fixing your issues so that you can have better play. So, you know, do matchups matter? They do, but number one, you got to fix what's going on in the backyard.
You don't sound all that optimistic.
Well, I mean, I'm just being a realist. I'm basing my observation, George, on what I've seen here recently. And let's face the facts. When you go through the streak that Tennessee has gone through, it's hard to be too optimistic because of how many games they've lost. Now, on the flip side of that, you hope that it's going to be short term and that those problems are corrected so that you have better results. Will they? That's the $1 million question. Now, I don't want to sound like someone to be too optimistic about the program when they're losing the games like they are and the ways that they are. I just want to be real and say, hey, there's some things to work out. Let's just be honest here, but they are doable. And sure, it's going to help the program when you get Josiah James back and Phillips, but it's more than that.
Yep, gotcha. Okay, hang with us. Tell the lady, on the microphone to chill. Tell her we've got a big time show going on and she's ruining it. We'll come back in a moment. We'll talk a little Vandy. We'll talk a little Kentucky. We'll get into some national hoops as well with Mark Griffin. This is the George Plaster Show. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East. And their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100. The conscientious Mark Griffin, former University of Tennessee star, joining us from the beautiful Newark Airport. Is it a nice airport? Yeah.
No, not at all.
Kind of a dump.
Yeah, it's kind of a dump.
Did you tell the lady to shut the hell up?
I'm working on it. I sent someone, but I don't know where they must have went for a Coke or something.
They went to the baggage department.
And I apologize if this isn't coming in clear. I'm doing the best I can. I just wanted to be on here live with you.
To be honest, it's come through great. Really has. So what do you make of Vandy? All of a sudden we get excited. We get reason to get excited. They go to LSU.
What happened in Baton Rouge, Mark?
Yeah, they laid an egg.
Oh, Mark, I think you just muted yourself.
There you go. Okay. Well, you guys called it. They laid an egg. And here I'm starting, like a lot of people are getting excited about Vanderbilt, and we're starting to talk positive about the program, and we've always talked about how well Jerry Stackhouse calls plays. And then now the players are getting some identity and really playing together, and then they go down to Baton Rouge and lay an egg. And that's quite unfortunate because they had that nice winning streak going, and then to lose to a team that's not really good. Let's face it. It's a little setback. Now, is it a major setback? No. If they can come back and maybe steal another road victory and protect the house at Memorial.
Yeah, but isn't that having to go to Kentucky in the name of stealing one?
Yeah, and I don't see that happening. I mean, let's face
either.
it, it'd be nice, but I'm not betting the house on it. But you're right, they're going to have to steal one. It's not going to be Kentucky, so I don't know the remainder of their schedule, but they need to win the other games outside of Kentucky because they've got a good chance to get a nice little seed. It's interesting when we were starting our show, a month ago or so. We had Vanderbilt, playing the first night of the tournament, and now they're playing for a pretty solid seed in the SEC tournament, which anything can happen. Maybe the Vanderbilt faithful will show up at Bridgestone this season.
Well, only time will tell on that one. Let me go.
I doubt it, but let's hope.
Right. Let me go to Kentucky for a minute. So everybody's rushing to say they're back. And they're good. But Mark, if Castleton had been healthy, Florida wins that game.
Oh, no doubt. And I mean, I'm shocked, George, that I watched that game, and I, like many people watching the game, they showed Castleton on the sideline, and he's a very enthusiastic young man. And you're right. If he plays, it's a 10-point plus win for Florida. But the fact is he didn't play. I think that Jason Jatoba, the backup center that's actually went to Hamilton Heights in Chattanooga, did a pretty nice job as he could on Shebway. But Florida's having to change their style of play on a whim because, as you know, everything went through Castleton. He was very effective when the ball touched his hands, and now they're having to go to a perimeter style game. And I still think they're trying to find themselves, and I think they're going to struggle. But it's another team that's frustrating for me to watch is Kentucky because they have all that talent, and you just wonder, George, is it gonna click? Because the season's starting to wind down. We're running out of time to say, hey, when are these guys going to play together? And every night it looks like a different team that shows up. It blows my mind.
The answer can't be that they click when the NBA playoffs start. So, Mark, what does happen up there if, they're either in the 7-10 or the 8-9 right now in the NCAA tournament that they're apparently in right now? But what happens if they go to another tournament and they're one and done?
Kentucky Blue, even more angry than before. And what's really going to be interesting, George, is are they shipped out west? If they're a 7 seed or 8 seed, are they going to be in the South? Because as you know, Kentucky faithful, the blue, the big blue, they travel so well. Are they going to head out west? Is that going to affect this team? I think it does. And that's one of the first things I'm going to be looking for on Selection Sunday, not when they get picked, but where they're placed. And I know we'll talk about that in depth in the future.
Well, do you want me to get cynical ugly about it?
Let's do it.
Okay. It's always been this way. The committee looks around. Now, they can lie about this and say they don't do this. But they look around and they see what region is struggling in ticket sales. And the minute they do that, they go, Kentucky. Because all you got to do is put them in there, and it's automatic.
Yeah, no doubt. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm not a Kentucky fan. I respect the program. But, man, I love the tradition, and I love watching the fans at these tournaments. be it SEC tournament. I love it, especially when they lose and the fans are selling their tickets. But I love watching the fans get together because they're wearing the blue and they're, meeting and greeting other fans. It's like they're a big family. It's like they played the game, with Shebway and Toppin and others. But it gives them something to relate to, the fans. Not as much as in the past because, with the freshmen leaving now, you really don't get to know the student athletes like you did years ago. But nonetheless, it's still their team. And I'm sure they're going to pack Nashville as well.
Is there a button for Calipari to push that elevates them to something we have not seen in 2.5 months?
Well, I think one button he's pushed, and this is a guy I've talked about, is Jacob Toppin.
Mm-hmm.
Since the Tennessee game on January 14th, where he scored 5 points, he's had 11 consecutive double-digit scoring games. I think that's the biggest key for Kentucky's turnaround, because he takes so much pressure off of Shebway. And if you notice, Shebway is a very emotional player. He struggles to keep himself under control. I think he needs to be buying Jacob Toppin dinner every night, because Jacob Toppin has really taken the pressure off of him. And I've seen vast improvement of him. He's probably one of the most improved players I've seen in the SEC this year. And I think he's got a shot to make the pros, George. I haven't seen him on any mock drafts, but he's explosive, and being consistent to score the 12 to 16 points a game is just what Kentucky needs right now.
Okay. You ready to play What's My Line?
Let's do it.
Late tomorrow night, St. Mary's, which rallied from the dead in the first game, goes to Gonzaga. Give me the line.
Oh, I think Gonzaga wins by 10. I don't think it's a close game. You can ask why. I just think because of revenge games, Gonzaga playing at home, I think Coach Few is going to have this team even more focused now, getting towards the tournament time. Gonzaga is not ranked where they want to be ranked or where they think they're deserved to be ranked. I think they're ranked appropriately, but they do have a lot of 5-star players. I remember I actually rented, like many people did, you went online and did pay-per-view to watch Tennessee play against Gonzaga. And when they were calling out the team, the 5-star, so they have the talent. But as you've said, George, are they a fraud? They don't play anybody, but this is such a great rival with St. Mary's. So a lot of us will be tuned in. I know you will, and I know I will.
The line is 3.
10.
I'm with you. Billy, get ready. That one's in there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Letting the cat out of the bag. Indiana at Purdue is this weekend.
The rematch.
Yeah.
It's one thing for Indiana to win in Bloomington, but do they have the stuff to go to Purdue and win?
No, I don't think they do. Of course, I'm not perfect on this show, as you know. We don't really talk about it because my record's not great. But things being equal, at least I'm probably at least 50%. So I guess that's good, right? But Indiana going to Purdue, I don't think looks good for Indiana. Now, Indiana's playing really well. And that'd be a tough matchup in the tournament. I know we're going to get into that once again down the road. But they've got 2 pros at least on the team. But Purdue at home, I'm just going to go with them. I think Edey has a tremendous game, and I think he gets Indiana's big guys in foul trouble. And if you can get Indiana in foul trouble, I think you got a good shot of winning.
Purdue 7.5. How about that?
I'm hammering Purdue there.
I do think they win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, Mark. I still think of the 1 seeds. They're the one I trust the most.
Okay. Name them.
Name the 1 seeds?
Yeah.
Let's hear your 1 seeds, George.
Purdue will end up being a 1 seed.
Okay.
Bama
Yeah.
Houston. And then a team to be named.
Team to be named. What about UCLA? You like UCLA or no?
When I watch them, you get glimpses of greatness.
Yeah.
But you do not get 40 minutes of it.
No, I think it's interesting. This is a team that's got so much. Speaking of talent, and I've watched a lot of Pac-12. Of course, there's not many good teams in the Pac-12, but UCLA's got so much talent. But I think Mick Cronin gets in their way. I mean, Little Mick, let's call him, because I think he really gets in the way. He pulls his little tactics on the sideline. I'm sure it drives the guys crazy. They don't talk about it, but it does. He's been doing his whole career. I think he gets in the way of the success of UCLA basketball. I really do.
Okay, not a big fan, are we?
We've got a Mick hater on the show.
Wow.
No, not at all.
So,
even going back to Murray, I don't care.
So Kermit got fired today at Ole Miss. We knew that was coming. And, one of the names that Jeff Goodman put out there was Chris Beard. I just don't think this early that can happen.
No. I think athletic director and leadership at Ole Miss gives this some time. I don't think you make a quick decision. There's no need to make a quick decision. It's not really going to affect recruiting. This is not football where you have to fill voids quickly. You've got plenty of time. Let this play out. See what develops around the country, who's hot, who may be having Ole Miss ties in the past, which, that'll start coming out as well, the connections. But way too early. And Chris Beard, I mean, that's a hot name. But do they want to go there? To be determined.
Yeah.
And
film at 11.
And would Chris Beard rather wait on somebody else as opposed to an Ole Miss? I'm not, trying to hate on Ole Miss. It's a decent job, but I don't know that he'd be, elated about that.
Well, it's interesting when you mention decent job. Well, it's interesting mentioning when we talk about hot school or great schools to go to. I still go back to Auburn and Coach Pearl. Was that a school that everybody wanted to go to? He turned that program around like he did Tennessee. He helped build that new building. Ole Miss has a fantastic facility. I went to the Ole Miss Tennessee game. We can say that may not be a hot destination, but was Auburn? Why can't Ole Miss be a great destination? I really do think if you get the right people in place, you could turn these programs around. I mean, we talked about Northwestern last week, George, and of course that's taken 10 years, but if it takes several years to turn Ole Miss around, if you get the right people who could come in and recruit, sell the state, if you protect your state, there's enough great players in the state of Mississippi that can turn that program around.
Okay, let's see how we close this. Let me look here. Vandy or Florida?
Positively.
Yeah, positively. Vandy or Florida tomorrow? Game is here.
Where's it played?
Nashville.
Here? Oh,
yeah.
Vanderbilt. I don't even think it's close.
What do you think the line is?
Vandy and 4.
Pick 'em.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
Vegas is not buying Vandy at all.
Not now.
And they weren't in the LSU game either.
No, they really weren't. And for that matter, they didn't buy them against Auburn. They were a 3.5 point dog against the Tigers. So, Mark, when does your plane, in theory, take off?
That's a great question.
You don't have a great
I need to
answer?
check. No, I think it's like 45 minutes. I haven't missed my flight. And if I do, you know what? I don't really worry about it. I'll just jump on the next one.
Really?
Stay home. Stay here. I don't care. I don't get worked up in airports. I just like watching people, staying out of people's way.
Yeah. Well, you do the best you can. There are a bunch of people been watching you going,
I know.
Why is he talking to himself?
I know. So loud, too, but that's part of it here in New Jersey.
Hey, thanks as always. You were good to come on here.
Pleasure. Thanks, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark Griffin, weekly visit, talking SEC, talking a little bit around the country. By the way, I like the fact We adjusted the picture a little bit today, and we got a little of this in it.
Got a little world champs in there.
A little world champs.
Coming soon.
To Truist Park near you.
Mm-hmm.
After the break, stat of the day, and then a thought or two about an athlete who 12 months ago was up here. And right now, thud. Stick around.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports. And then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised. And, of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Welcome back. Final segment of the first hour. We got another hour coming up. We got Herm Edwards coming up as well. Little college football talk. But first stat of the day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards out in Shelbyville, Tennessee. You can find them at 204 East Depot Street during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5. And also on the weekend. Check them out tomorrow, anytime between 10 a.m. and 5. Give them a call at 931-492-4304. Again, that's 931-492-4304. All right, George, let's check out stat of the day for today, and we will go with baseball. Only 2 players in MLB history have won the Rookie of the Year award and MVP for in the same season. Both played in the American League. Who are they?
I am going to kick butt on this one.
Let's hear it.
Well, so I want you to get the applause ready.
Oh, you're getting cocky here.
Oh, yeah, very much so, because I know it.
Okay.
I've got them both.
I'm very intrigued for this.
Number one is Fred Lynn.
Okay, what's number 2?
Aaron Judge. Oh.
Try again.
Oh.
It's not as recent as Aaron Judge.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's what happens when you say sound the buzzer a little too early.
Well, not many people would have gotten Freddie Lynn.
Well, you're definitely the one in this room that would have gotten it.
Yeah, you don't even know who he is.
I don't.
Well, I'll tell you this. He hit a grand slam in the 83 All-Star game at Comiskey off Atlee Hammaker.
Who is Atlee Hammaker?
Atlee Hammaker at the time was a left-hander with the San Francisco Giants.
Man.
Atlee Hammaker. Learn your baseball.
What a name.
Yeah. I don't know.
Other than Aaron Judge, he was your only guess?
I thought I had it.
Man, this is gonna surprise you a little bit.
Okay.
Ichiro Suzuki.
Ichiro!
In 2001.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought when you said Lynn, I thought you were definitely going to get Ichiro.
Fred Lynn, I absolutely aced.
You did. That was look at the picture of Fred.
How many people you think would have gotten Freddie Lynn?
Only you as a member of the show. A good one by David there.
Yeah. Excellent. Well done. So we now are officially into the 3:00 hour.
We are.
Okay.
What do we got, George?
Well, first of all, this is going to come back up when Herm Edwards joins us in 12 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So a report out of The Athletic says that Russell Wilson asked, I guess, Seattle ownership to basically boot Pete Carroll and the GM, and that all of that happened essentially 12 months ago, which then explains another reason why they were so quick to want to get him out.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about this.
He has denied those reports.
Oh, I know he has. And look, there's no way to know on our end whether it's true or not until the reporter comes out and says, look, here's where I got it.
Mm-hmm.
And, or I got it from a source deep within the Seahawks. But I guess my point to it is, you think about athletes that are up here and then drop. Have we seen one drop quite the way Russell Wilson has in 12 months?
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, you could sort of see it coming, I guess, that last year in Seattle a little bit, that, okay, he's getting a little bit older. He's not as athletic and as explosive, but you still knew, he was Russell Wilson, and you thought he still had a little bit of that in him. But the year in Denver, I mean, the damage that this has done, to his perception is mind blowing. I mean, I never thought, those first couple of weeks when we were talking about it, George, we knew it was bad, but we didn't. I don't think if you put a truth serum on us, we wouldn't have said it would have continued to get worse. I mean, every week it got a little bit worse, and so no, I don't think there has been a single player that has fallen down this quickly. Now I think he can get back up.
Oh, I think he can too,
with the help of Sean Payton, thank God. But I mean, I don't think there's a single, at least in the NFL, this quick, because the year before in Seattle, it's not like he played awful. I mean, it was not in he wasn't in a great situation offensively, but you still thought he had a little bit left.
In his denial, and I'm reading here, Wilson tweeted Friday morning that Carroll was, quote, a father figure to me. And by the way, I believe that. I think Pete Carroll at some point was a father figure to Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And that John Schneider, the GM, believed in me and drafted me as well. I never wanted them fired. All any of us wanted was to win. I'll always have respect for them and love for Seattle. A lawyer for Russell Wilson also disputed the report as entirely fabricated. Seahawks declined comment to The Athletic.
Interesting.
But think about it. You haven't heard a lot of great stuff come out of players about Russell Wilson. True?
True.
Why? He's had a great career. I've always been a big fan of his. I've always believed that he was the best long ball thrower in football. He would throw those absolute moonshots.
Mm-hmm.
And then big old 14 would go get him.
Yeah. I don't know, George. I mean, it's hard to put a finger on it with Russell, but I think a lot of it came down to, the deteriorating relationship with him and Pete Carroll. I mean, Pete Carroll, you just mentioned it, as a guy that, acted as a sort of a father figure for him. And Carroll, I mean, I don't know if you know him or have any experience with him, George, but everything I've heard about Pete Carroll has been great, that he's a phenomenal football coach. He's a great guy off the field as well. So for Russell, I don't know. It doesn't paint a good picture of him if you didn't work out with Pete Carroll. I mean, Pete Carroll's
players coach.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard. That's hard to do. So I don't know. Maybe it's a different story with Sean Payton, and Russell is excited about Payton, and he gets back to work. But I don't know, Georgia. I think there's sort of a selfish attitude, I think, with Russell a little bit. I mean, he's got a posse walking around him, not anymore, but I mean, in Seattle those last couple of years, he was his own guy. He walked to his own horn, and I mean I think that's a lot of it. And there are a lot of players like that, but I think if you're a team player, you don't want to, play with a guy like that puts that much on himself. So
this has been, I've always been a fan of his.
Yeah.
And this has been troubling to see some of the stuff that has gotten out. The report, I'm almost certain, I was looking for it when I read it this morning. The report said that the guy that he wanted to replace Pete Carroll was Sean Payton.
Really?
Yeah. How about that? Yeah. How about that?
That's an interesting twist. And you've got The Athletic, right? So you've got the article.
Yes.
Wow. Well, I mean, that points to maybe Pete, maybe there was an obvious disconnect. Pete didn't want Russell. He didn't want to work with Russell, and Russell didn't want to work with Pete. And it was, those last couple of years, it just wasn't going to work out. And, but to hear Russell wanted Sean Payton in Seattle, now he gets him
in Denver.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's going to be something to watch now, to where, okay, how different does Russell look now? Because we know it wasn't going to work out with Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, that wasn't going anywhere.
We knew that before the anthem got played.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, though, that Peyton stuff is interesting. And we've seen what Peyton has done with quarterbacks. I know it was Drew Brees, but Russell Wilson, he's done some stuff on the football field similar to a Drew Brees. I mean, he's that type of quarterback. He's a little bit bigger than Drew, but that's sort of Sean Payton's prototype quarterback. I mean, who else has he worked with other than Brees? But Brees obviously is the guy.
Basically, it was Brees,
the only guy.
I mean, that mattered.
Right. And then so you look at that.
That's ugly to say, but it's kind of the truth.
No, I mean, that's the thing. He's really worked with one great quarterback in his career, and it's Drew Brees. And honestly, thinking about Russell, I think a little bit of Drew Brees when I watch Russell. Obviously, Russell's more athletic, but I don't know, the way they kind of sit in the pocket, and I don't know, they're smart. They're both smart, cerebral. Russell's even bigger, so that helps.
For me, the difference, and again, did I see every Denver game? No, but I saw enough of them. The thing I thought was that the Russell Wilson who used to have great escapability in Denver, it looked like that was lost.
Yeah, there wasn't any of that.
No, that was the thing until the end. He had a couple of good games at the end of the season, but until then, I didn't see the escapability that I used to see. By the way, there's a story that's gotten out over the wire that apparently the NCAA has handed down a 1-year sanction on Miami for NIL stuff. How about that?
Interesting.
Yeah. By the way, I believe Mr. Worldwide Leader is with us.
Yes, he is. Are we wanting to bring him in?
Well, what we'll do is we'll go to the break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. I see his trophy room. Can't wait to talk to Herm Edwards. Got a lot of stuff to get into with him. Stick around. We got plenty more coming. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
We're headed out to the West Coast, and we'll meet up with our buddy, Coach Herm Edwards, here in just a second. Some of you know, and maybe some of you don't, we had a past relationship in my radio sports talk show life. Herm was nice enough to come to town for one of my Music City sports festivals. I will never forget a speech that he gave to about 30 kids from the Preston Taylor Ministries. It was one of the most unbelievable scenes to watch those kids absolutely fix in on a guy they would watch on TV. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of this guy. I also think ESPN, in his first go-round with them, paid him one of the ultimate compliments. And that is when there were big issues to discuss, even if they weren't football, this guy was their go-to guy. Watch it. If you don't believe that, when something really breaks, you watch and see if they don't have him on there. Herm, how you doing?
I'm doing well, my friend. That's nice of you. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, you owe me $1.
Okay, that's good. I got it.
Okay, so I'm about to load up a couple of hand grenades on you, so
Sure.
Get ready. This is one I just want to pick your brain philosophically. Very close to home here, we've got the University of Alabama basketball program, which has had this big breakthrough. They're likely to be a 1 seed. That guy you see in the picture, Nate Oates, a really good basketball coach. The kid right now that is at the center of this whole thing is from Nashville. Brandon Miller went to Cane Ridge High School, has what appears to be a pristine reputation in the past.
Yes.
We know what's going on there. What I want to ask you first is, If a young coach picked up the phone and said, listen, I watch you a lot. You make a lot of sense. You are a voice of reason. Talk to me about how I should handle issues like what this young guy is going through.
Well, obviously, you want to gather the information and have enough information where you can make a decision that will be one that represents how you feel, but also how the university feels as well. And that's the tough spot that you're put in when you have to make decisions. It's not just about you, it's about your team, it's about the university, it's about all those involved in this. And there's a lot of moving parts to this, and there lies the problem, because regardless of whatever the outcome is and the decision you make, there'll also be some people in your camp, there'll be some people outside of your camp. They'll say, well, I would have done it this way. It's easy to always try to live in someone else's shoes until you have to make that decision and deal with the fact that this is a decision we made and I got to live with it. And I just think that's a part of being in that leadership role. A lot of things that will come across your plate. You've got to make some decisions. And the only way you can do it to make the correct decision is to gather the information. And sometimes you don't have enough information, right? Because you're always pressed to make a decision. Say, we got to know, coach, or what are we doing? And you're not going to please everyone. I've always said this. It's like being the president of the United States, right? There's certain parties that are going to be in favor, and there's certain parties that are not going to be in favor. And you wake up every morning knowing that.
Yeah.
That's just part of your life, and you know it. And you try to be consistent with who you are, and that's kind of how I try to live my life. Just be consistent. And there have been times I've made some mistakes, but I'll be honest about it and say, hey, I made a mistake. But I think the consistency, that builds your character, that builds your trust with all the people that you're dealing with.
Is the decision-making process for a coach different on the pro level than it is in college?
Well, there's a lot of more factors in college. It goes deeper than just you and the AD. It's the president, it's the people that are a part of the faculty. All these things come in according to what decision you're about to make. How will it impact? The deal is, how is this going to be taken once you make this decision? And you're going to get some negative comments. There's going to be some noise outside of the office when you make this decision. There's going to be radio shows, television shows that talk about it, right? But I think you as an organization, once you decide this is the path that we're traveling, you have to stick together. That's the main thing. You have to stick together.
Okay, I'm gonna sort of go around the world to one that is near and dear to you. I remember 15, 20 years ago, you would always see these pro jobs. So-and-so got interviewed, so-and-so, so-and-so, and Tony Dungy. Yeah. And then you'd have the next job, so-and-so, 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 and Tony Dungy.
Right.
And it was always like he was a bridesmaid. Then all of a sudden he got hired and everybody was like, whoa, wait a minute. This man is remarkable. He's incredibly thoughtful. He's network TV. He's a Super Bowl coach. So I know in my heart that he got held back then on race.
Yes.
Is the same thing happening to Eric Bieniemy?
I'm hoping that's not the case, but it feels like it is. And you talk about Tony. Tony Dungy is a really good friend. I mean, a real good friend. We came in the league together. We actually came in the league together. We played in the All-Star games together in college. And I was down there with him in Tampa. I was one of the first coaches he hired as his assistant head coach. We worked together in Kansas City for a while on that staff before he left again and went to Denny Green. Because he couldn't get the coordinator's job at Kansas City. Marty went in a different direction, so he left and went to Minnesota with Denny, and then from there he was able to get the Tampa job. And I can remember being in Hawaii at the Pro Bowl, and I saw it come across the ticker on television, and the phone had a message on the phone. It was from Tony, and he says, "Okay, we're going to Tampa," and I went to Tampa with him, and I can remember the times that so-called these interviews he was getting. And basically, there were some teams that would call him on the phone and say, we want to talk to you about the head coaching job. And the next thing you know, it'd be in the press saying he had an interview. He never went on campus. He never left the building. So has it improved since then? Yeah. But when you think about Bieniemy, he's had 15 interviews. And I've always said this. Sometimes there's a process of interviewing when you start doing too many, because what happens is these owners talk as well. And when they start talking, they say, well, you didn't hire him. And well, why should I hire him? He's had 15 interviews, right? So then it becomes one of those deals where, well, he's had 15 interviews. Why has he not been hired? I don't know the story why he's not been hired. All I know is this. How many times have you ever seen an offensive coordinator do an interview when he gets hired at a team? You don't. He had an interview. They interviewed Eric Bieniemy. And I thought it was good for this reason only. You could hear him speak on the subject of him not being able to land a head coaching job. And what he said, that's not going to hold me back. I'm going to move forward. He took the high road. And if you know the man, he's going to take the high road. But to sit here and say, this man has had 15 interviews. He's won 2 world championships. He's coached the quarterback that's been the MVP in our league twice, and not be able to get a job. I mean, it's sad. More than anything else, it's sad. And I said this, life is not fair. I get that part. Life has never been about fair. Life is about hopefully you get an opportunity. And by him going to Washington, to an organization that right now is in a little bit of turmoil, don't know if it's going to be sold, don't know if really don't have a quarterback. If he has to go to there to try to turn that program around, and maybe somebody will give him a look and say, look what he did there, right? That's the shame of it all. 2 coordinators off the Philadelphia Eagles, by the way, that lost in the Super Bowl, were hired. It's interesting.
That didn't do a particularly good job in that game.
Yeah, they outcoached them.
Yeah.
The second half, they outcoached them.
Well, you and I both know what gets thrown out there.
Yes.
When you say the number 15, immediately there is, well, he must be a horrible interview.
Right.
You know that's put out there.
Right. And if you listen to his press conference that he had in Washington here yesterday, I believe it was, whenever it was.
Didn't sound like a bad interview there.
He was great. So, I don't know. And I've talked to Eric. I had discussions with him about 2 years ago about, his ability. And he says, and then at one time he was thinking about going back to college. That's a conversation we had together, because there were some college jobs that were kind of looking at him, and he wanted to say, I want to stay here. I want to be a pro coach. And I said, yeah, look, eventually you're going to get a shot. And we had a nice conversation. But it's just, I'm wishing the best for that guy.
Tell me this, Dungy was so good at what he did.
Yes.
To me, he broke through tons of barriers. How much did his ability to just simply be a coaching rock star start to open some doors that were not going to get opened?
Well, when you think about the people that were on his staff, look, the reason Tony didn't get hired right away, because at that time, the era that we were coaching in, he wasn't a rah-rah coach. He wasn't a holler coach, get in your face. The players loved him. The players, when we went to Tampa, when we built that football team, there's 4 Hall of Famers on that defense: Lynch, Sapp, Derrick Brooks, and now Ronde Barber. And this was the team that was in dire need of Tony Dungy. He fit the personality. He went down there with this team and look, and almost got him to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they let him go, and then he went to the Colts and got to a Super Bowl and won one. But I sat by this guy for many a year down there in Tampa. And when you think about the coaches off his tree, he had myself, he had Lovie Smith, he had Rod Marinelli. When I left, he had Mike Tomlin take my spot. So there have been many coaches that came off his tree to become head coaches, to be given an opportunity to become head coaches. And that's the impact he's made. And obviously, everyone that knows Tony, look, you can't work for a better guy. You can't have a better man representing your organization. And as I said, we've been friends since 1977. We played in all-star games against each other. And he's always held this against me. He was the opposite quarterback on the team. And we're playing in the Japan Bowl. And they're driving down the last drive. And they're about to win this game. And the ball gets tipped in the red zone. I intercept the ball. We ended up winning it. And from that day forward, when I worked with Tony, especially when I was in Tampa, we'd have these scrimmages, like he'd pick we'd have a draft. Right. He'd draft his side, I'd draft my side, and we would play. But Tony was the official of these games as well. And every time it got down to like the last play or two, and it was a close game, this is like in OTAs and stuff like that. Something would always happen. It was like, oh, no, it was a penalty. And he'd call it, and I go, wow. And so after 3 years, I could never win this game. And the players figured it out and said, man, Tony's still holding that against you, man.
It's rigged.
Fan bowl deal. You can't ever win. I said, you're right.
I want to run one more by you and see where you go. I have been, over the years, a huge Russell Wilson fan. When he went to Denver, I thought he was the best long ball thrower in the game. I used to love his escapability, although I didn't see any of that in Denver. And now all of a sudden this story gets out that, whether it's true or not, that he asked that Carroll and Schneider get fired in Seattle. Right. If he picked up the phone and called you and said, man, I don't know how it's happened, but I was up here and I feel like I'm down here, what would you tell him to try to get him back on a better track?
Well, I would say this. Look, everyone in their career has some lows. And right now you're at a low. You're at a low part of your career. And you only have so much left in your career. But the great part is you get to start over with a coach that has done a remarkable job wherever he's been coaching. And that's Sean Payton, especially with the quarterback. And I think this man can resurrect your career if you're willing to buy in. I'm hoping that this season that Russell Wilson went through, he's been humbled some, right? He's been humbled some.
Oh, yeah.
And that's okay. And that's okay. But he's at a place now where he has a playoff defense. They have a playoff defense. They're in a conference where you got to play against that guy twice a year and Mahomes, right? The Chargers have an excellent quarterback as well, right? So you're in a division where the Raiders are looking for a quarterback. Maybe they find him or not. If not, they might get one. Everyone's saying maybe Aaron Rodgers goes there. So all of a sudden you're in a conference. When you look at the conference and you're going, woo, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks here. If that comes to fruition. If Aaron Rodgers goes to the Raiders, you've got 3 teams that are in this conference that have big-time quarterbacks. Big-time quarterbacks.
Yep.
So now what you got to ask yourself is, do I want to compete with those guys? And do I want to buy into what coach is saying? And I said this when they hired Sean. I think the first thing Sean Payton's going to do, he's getting rid of that parking spot he has out there that Russell Wilson has. He's getting rid of that. There's no parking spot with your name, right? And the second thing he's doing, that little private meeting room you got, he's taking the signs off that door too, right? All that stuff's gone. You're going to be one of the guys, right? And you got to come in here. You got to be. If you're Russell Wilson, you should be ecstatic that Sean Payton decided to go to Denver. There was a lot of people after Sean Payton. He went to Denver with Russell Wilson not having one of his best years, probably his worst year as a quarterback. So whatever's happened in the past, that's in the past. Now it's going forward. Russell Wilson, what are you going to do? And everybody's looking at that. That's going to be one of the top stories, right, going on this year.
Every time Herm and I talk off the air and he uses the term the worldwide leader, I start laughing because he's the only person I've heard, even though they used to use that moniker. Some Herm keeps using it and I keep laughing. Here's what I want to know. The first time you were there.
Yes.
And I don't know if I was the only person that ever spotted the whole, if there are issues that are important in the sports world, even if they're not football, we're going to you. Did they tell you that's what they were going to do, or did it just start happening?
It just started happening. And I just think that look, I'm a little older than a lot of the guys that work there. I've been around for a long time. I've been very fortunate in my career. I've been around a lot of great coaches, a lot of great football coaches, right? I've been in football my whole life, but I'm a sports fan. I know a lot of coaches from different sports.
Right.
I talk to those guys. We just kind of talk, right? Izzo's a good friend of mine. Right? When I'm on television, I'll get a text from Izzo, and he goes, "Boy, you were good today," right? Messing with me, right? I mean, so it's kind of funny. Guys check in with me, right? It's just
right.
They kind of text me. Sometime on air, they say, "Boy, you're on a roll right now. Keep going," right? And so it's really humbling to me that, and I've said this to you many a times, when you are on the Worldwide Leader, people are allowing you in their homes when they turn that television on.
You're an invited guest.
And it is entertainment. Sports is entertainment. It's not, it's not bigger than that. But there are a lot of life issues that come along with being an athlete or a coach in sports. And they're all relevant. We all intertwine in this world. And what I try to do is paint a picture of, there's two sides to the story. I've been a coach. I've been a player. I've been an assistant coach. I've been a scout. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I think about all those things.
Sure.
Before I even get into what I'm about to say, because I'm going, look, even though it's sports, it's life. Life is sports. It really is. It's just played out on the screen. It's played out on the field. It's played out on a basketball court, baseball court. And when you talk about whether professional or college, they're not just athletes. They're real people. They're not just the guy with the number on his jersey. They have a life when they walk off the court or off the field. They could be married, have kids. They have the same issues everybody else has. They think, well, they can make so much money, they got no problems. More money, more problems. It's always that way. And more friends. And you gain a lot of more friends all of a sudden, right?
When you have money.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. And so I just think, everyone struggles with the same thing in life. Everyone has the same type of problems.
So, Billy, you figured out for me how good I think this guy is and what a great interview is. So watch how I'm going to end this.
Okay.
You'll never see this one coming. Okay. Of all those footballs behind you,
ooh,
if I said to you, you can only keep one, what's the one?
This is hard because there's two of them that really resonate. One is winning the championship game against my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys. and my first NFL interception of my career. I ended up with 38 of them. Because that's kind of like, okay, I was a starter my whole career, never missed a game, never missed a practice. Everybody knows that. Not only was it my first interception, but it was against Joe Namath. So it's kind of like I wrestle with that, right? Because that started my career off.
Yeah.
I got an interception against Joe Namath, and I said, are you kidding me? And the only thing I'm kicking myself about is when I was walking off the field and I had that ball, I was getting ready to run up to him, and the veteran said, man, don't ask him for your autograph on this ball. I wanted his autograph on the ball.
Right. Does he
and
know
the veteran
that?
told me, don't do it. They said, don't do it, Herm. Don't get his autograph. He ain't signing your autograph. Leave that thing alone.
Oh, this is great. Thank you so much, as always.
Thank you, my friend. That's down and out in the back. You hear it? That's the Worldwide Leader calling me right now.
Go answer the phone. See ya.
All right, buddy.
He is great. God, I get a kick out of it when he starts the Worldwide Leader.
So that's how he knows ESPN's calling
the bat phone. Okay, we'll go to the break. I have 4 picks for Plaster Bet of the Day. If you remember, I had 4 a week ago. And how did I do?
Not too bad.
I kicked butt. I was 4-0. We'll be 4-0 next. Stay with us.
hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd. The goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Don't miss a minute of the action this season. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to get your seats today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com. Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
George, breaking news. Tony Vitello, Tennessee baseball coach, suspended for this weekend's 3-game series against Dayton.
Why is that?
For tampering, allegedly, with a high-profile transfer shortstop from Kansas. So some NCAA recruiting violations.
So is that an NCAA suspension or an SEC?
Well, I would guess NCAA because Tennessee actually... they admitted to some of their mistakes, so they sort of self-imposed these mistakes on themselves. So
yeah,
no Tony Vitello this weekend, but luckily it's Dayton and not LSU.
And
that they're playing
next Tuesday when Tony Basilio joins us,
that'll be an interesting topic.
We'll find out about it.
We also get to find out about your 4 plays for this college basketball weekend coming up here in just a few moments. It's brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers that you can trust. We'll see if you guys can trust George this weekend with your money. Give Bart Durham a call at 615-242-9000. These are folks you can trust with your money. Log on to bartdurham.com for more information. George, before we learn about your plays this weekend, we've got to learn about what happened last night.
It was a dud.
Stanford laid an egg. They were at home against Washington State. And I think they were in it for the majority, but they sort of faltered late and lost by, I think it was 5. So they did not cover.
Washington State's the better team, not by much, but I should have gone with them. Thursdays are hard.
There's not a lot of selection.
Yeah, and there's, when you watch a lot of the Power Fives on Thursday, there's not a lot of that.
No.
So we weren't able to put a graphic together simply because the spreads
didn't come out until a couple hours ago.
And so what I've done, I've picked 4 games on Saturday that I like.
Okay.
And all of this has happened. Here goes. Number 1 is Missouri. They're a 3-point favorite at Georgia. I believe that Georgia is not nearly as good a basketball team today as they were a month ago. I don't know if that's simply that people have figured some things out about what they're doing. I don't know if it's a young team that has hit a wall. But what I do know is they're not as good as they were.
No.
Missouri is a pretty darn good basketball team. This is a game they're probably sitting there saying, like Vandy was 2 days ago, this is a game we got to win. And I think Missouri wins, and I think they cover.
Yep. And Dennis Gates has done a phenomenal job at Missouri. He's going to have them ready to play. I like that, George.
I'm going to go with Vandy. And the question will be...
That didn't work out last week.
No, it didn't. The question will be one of two things here. Does Vandy bounce back with pep in their step at home against Florida tomorrow? Or do they simply allow one loss to become 2 losses? This is where Jerry Stackhouse has to earn some money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he probably will. Florida will be without Colin Castleton. I don't think they're nearly as good a team without him. I don't think that's exactly me, coming up curing cancer to say that. But I think Vandy, to pick them at home, wins this game.
Yeah, I will say, though, George, Florida last time out lost to Vandy at home. Now they're coming to Nashville to play Vandy on their home floor. Florida looked pretty good against Kentucky without Castleton.
They did. I was impressed.
I was as well, and they were at home. But I think Florida's going to have a chip on their shoulder. I know it's a pick 'em right now. Who knows what Vandy shows up? I mean, this is another bit. Every game's important right now for Stackhouse, and I think every game has been important in these last 2 weeks for him. I mean, he was fighting for his job and then went on a 5-game winning streak. But if they falter down the stretch here, they don't have these games aren't easy. Florida at home, at Rupp Arena, and then Mississippi State at home. You lose 2 or 3 or all 3, you're sort of back on the chopping block a little bit. I mean, this is another big last 3 games here for Stackhouse. I wouldn't be surprised if Vandy comes out and dominates Florida. I also wouldn't be surprised if Florida picks them off. So that's why it's a pick 'em.
Third game. Iowa's a 3-point favorite at home against Michigan State. I don't think this is one of Tom Izzo's better teams at Michigan State. And when they go on the road, they've had some issues. Iowa has traditionally, under Fran McCaffrey, been a pretty darn good 3-point shooting team.
Mm-hmm.
At Carver Hawkeye, I think they win. I think they win by more than 3. And last but not least is Gonzaga. No, I don't think this is one of Gonzaga's better teams. I think they're going to get bounced early in the tournament, but they have their big rival in that pitiful conference is St. Mary's. They had St. Mary's dead and buried, 4 weeks ago, and ended up blowing an 8-point lead late, got beat, I think, by 1.
At that Cracker Box gym.
At that little Cracker Box at St. Mary's. Now the scene shifts to Gonzaga. Gonzaga is only a 3-point favorite. I can't think of a time at home where they have been that small a favorite. I think they crush St. Mary's. I think they win this game in double digits. I'm with Mark Griffin. Gonzaga.
I agree. And George, I always love watching this game. St. Mary's and Gonzaga, two not huge fan bases, but they're passionate. They get into it. And it's just it's a kind of a funny, interesting rivalry that, you watch the game, you tune in late on a Saturday after watching all these SEC games, and you see, man, these two teams hate each other.
And it's always Dave Fleming and Sean Farnham.
Yeah, I love it. I think Sean does a great job, by the way. But
I think both of them do.
Yeah.
Big fan of Dave Fleming.
Does Walton ever call those Gonzaga games, or is that only Pac-12?
Oh, terrible pass. Horrible shot.
Bill Walton, I love he acts like an animal out there. That's
the Conference of Champions. Well, that wasn't a real good ending to the show, but it is the way the show's going to end. Billy, we'll see you on Monday.
See you, George.
I need the cough button. See you.